my opening act. We are officially live, and I feel as if it has been a lifetime. How long has it been since we've been in these YouTube and Facebook streets, Ronnie? How long has it
I'll,
been?
I'll give the vague answer. It's been way too long. Let's just leave it at that. But it's been a week.
Yeah,
It's been a week.
been yeah, about 2 weeks. I think I'm hearing some feedback. Okay, okay. Good evening, everyone out there, Facebook and YouTube land. If you guys are catching us for the first time, I am Yasheka Foster, affectionately known as the artist of dating. And welcome to the Ronnie and Yashika's dating discussion. And my handsome host, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ronnie Walker, master coach of exceptional dating, relationships, and sex. And here we are with another incredible episode with the lovely Yashika Foster of Dating Discussions with Ronnie and Yashika. Good to see you all.
Yes, absolutely. We listen. I think are we still have we really gotten into have everyone gotten comfortable with writing 2022 yet, or is it still are we still trying to remember to write that instead of scratching the paper and writing 2021? Are we what are we doing? I don't really know.
It's funny. I believe I'm still getting they're still working out the kinks.
Yeah.
What's happened. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Uh, you know, we have people, as you know, all over the world, but just specifically in the East Coast, we're getting colder than normal temperatures. And that's could have put a hamper of people willing to go out, especially in the southern regions like Florida. They're getting a cold snap and it's really slowing everybody down in a great way. So whereas they thought they were going to go out on dates or go out there and showcase themselves and make themselves known, they've kind of pulled back. Also, in terms of taking some trips, there are some places that has received some cold. So that as well. And of course, as we know, and I've always said this, Yashika, that it's usually, the studies show that within the 12th or the 13th of the month is when those resolutions tend to fall off.
You
So,
know what? I'm notorious. I always keep mine up until around Valentine's Day. I'm good for like the first 6 weeks. Listen, I'm a diehard when it comes to New Year's resolutions. I'll keep mine. Mine is always the same. Although um this year my I hadn't set one this year. I didn't set one the previous years. But in the past, it was always, I'm gonna start this new, I'm about to lose 20 pounds before my birthday in March. That was always mine, right? So I would start come 1 January, and I had until my birthday, which is the second week in March. And so roughly I had about 10 weeks to get it together. And I was like, I can do that. That's 2 pounds a week. I can do that. By that 6 week, if I hadn't lost on an average of about 2 pounds a week in 6 weeks, I'd be like, you know what, forget it. I'm out. I'm out. I'm gonna try this shit again. Come the summertime. I was like, I'm gonna try it again. You know what? I'm gonna wait until next year. I'm gonna just wait until next year, or I'm gonna do some crash diet right before summertime, and then we're gonna start again. But something happens right around Valentine's Day, and by that time I be in my feelings, and I just be like, forget it.
talk about a perfect talk about a perfect segue into what we're covering. If this doesn't really match or go along with what we're going to discuss today, I don't know what does.
Yes, that's me. That is me. That's always been me. Shoot, that's always been me. Like it was all because I never thought much about anything else. You know what I mean? I remember when I was a kid, and this is so out of subject, but um, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about just different things about things that we were maybe insecure about as a kid. And I was talking to a friend of mine who recently had to make some lifestyle changes because of some things that went on with her. And I was telling her about her hair, and I said, "Well, you can rock any hairstyle." I said, "You can rock a short hairstyle, a bald hairstyle, or you can rock a long hair because she has really long hair, like beautiful long hair, to her waist or whatever, when it's healthy. Um, and so and I told her, I said, you have a good, beautiful face, so you can rock. I said, me on the other hand, I said, I always have to have hair because I have a big old head. And I said, it's a good thing I was focused on the other things in my life because if I wasn't focused on the other things in my life, thanks to my uncles, I would have had low self-esteem because my uncles would tell my mother when I was a kid, they would be like, Yasheka got a really big head. I was a little bitty girl, and my uncles would tell my mother about how big my head was. And my mother tells me the story about one day I have an uncle who passed away shortly after I was born, but he had just went to the eye doctor, and he thought that his eyes was playing tricks on him. He was like, "Is it me or is that baby got a big head?" I was a newborn baby, and my mother was like, "Y'all gonna get off my baby head?" And I was like, "Mama, my brain was just big. That's all." But because I never thought much about it, it never dawned on me. Like it never like
Wow.
I almost talked about it, but I never had low self-esteem behind it because I was focused on other things. I was like, let me be skinny like Cindy Crawford and them. That's what I was focused on. I didn't think about anything else. And I told my uncles them it's a good thing I wasn't, because Lord knows I could never change my head size. You know what I mean? So it's a good thing I wasn't focused on that thing, because I would have been messed up for life, had I been focused on that. So, but yes, so today, Ronnie, we are talking about, have we, when I say we, well, I use the word you in the title. Have you given up on love? And when I say you, I'm talking about you, me, us, we, all of us out there. Have we given up on love? When I was writing this post up for this particular topic, this came from, I was thinking about some of the conversations that I've had with people, lately. And it seems that no matter which generation we're talking to, that kind of seems to be the running theme amongst generations, regardless, whether we're talking to the millennials, whether we're talking to, my generations, or even some of the baby boomers. They're at the point where they're saying that they've come to the conclusion that they're just not going to find love. And that if they can find someone that makes them happy for the moment, that they're okay with that too, because as far as finding that one person forever, they've pretty much given up on it. And yeah, what say you? What have been your experience with that, and what people are saying?
Yeah, I do hear some form of feedback, and I don't know why that is the case. Okay, I guess it's going away now. That has been something that has been going on throughout my years of practice in this space. You read about it, and of course, with the advent of the internet, whereas you didn't think it was that big a deal, you do see it. It's more pervasive. It's just everywhere. However, what I've always, and this is something I think we can both go back and forth on, the question is why? Because it's not something that you would think women would give up on. But now what I am hearing is more and more men speak this. And not that it's just something that's come of late, but just as you said, there are different generations. So be they boomers, be they millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Xs, all across the board I'm seeing this. And it's one thing to see someone who is in their late 50s, 60s, who's gone through 3-4 divorces to say something. But what really alarms me, Yasheka, is when I'm hearing men and women in their 20s and 30s have this sort of attitude about that. And for those of you who know me or follow me, be it Instagram or Facebook, or just know me in person, I am the optimist. I'm going to find something positive about it. I don't care what it is. But this concerns me because, unfortunately, the internet has a space to make the few seem like the many. And while I still feel that there's not that many people out there that are like that, to me there's still more than it needs to be. Because the whole world is so much broader than what you're experiencing at this moment, or what have you experienced in the past few years. You have a whole world, God willing, that you'll live to see, the years of Betty White, or Eartha Kitt. These are the things that the world is just a vast place. You can go travel the world. There's just so many opportunities and options to go out there and really meet somebody. But this right here concerns me. And especially as we're coming up on Valentine's Day. So whether you celebrate it or not, we all know that pretty soon we're going to see the anti Valentine's Day posts or things of this nature. And
Mhm.
sometimes you take most of it a joke, but there are those people who um, really have an issue with that.
Yeah.
So this is something I really want to uh, I think it's just a great subject to discuss.
Yeah. And I wonder if it's people are really accepting it as their destiny, or is it that they don't want to do the work? Like that's the part that I'm trying to understand about it.
Well, I was going to ask you that. What do you think the number one? Well, first of all, what do you think the number one reason is, Yashika, as to why men and women, will feel this?
Well, I think I can't help but to play two different sides to this. And
Okay.
why I say that is because there there's a part of me, I guess my common sense side, that leads me to believe that a person gets to that conclusion because either they've seen enough or they've experienced enough to say, you know what, I will be a fool to believe that this is going to work for me because I've seen it fail for so many other people. So that's that part of me where my common sense comes in, because I can't see a person who have been through one or maybe two relationships in life and they're at the age of 40, saying I give up on love. You know what I mean? I want to believe that they've seen enough failed relationships, or maybe they come from, a family that has failed relationships. Maybe their siblings have failed relationships, and then they've had failed relationships after failed relationships, and so because of the experience and what they see around them, it's like enough is enough already, and that's why they feel the way they feel, because they feel like there's no positivity around them, so they're at the wits ends with it. And so that's my common sense, right? But then there's a part of me also that believes that there are people who maybe have went through a couple of things, because only you know what enough is enough for you. Everybody's tolerance level is different, right? Because I
Absolutely.
know people who have been married once and said they will never be married again. They will never get married again, once and done, and they not doing it again, right? And then I know people that will say that they'll get married until they get it right, and I'm one of them people. I'm one of the people that I don't believe in that one and done, because I'm a true believer that you know the people that I've married prior may not be the people that was meant for me. And the person that I'm meant to marry is out there, and so I'm not going to let them people ruin the opportunity of me being with the person I'm supposed to be with, and that's it. So that's how I see it. Um, so because I see it that way, um I believe that there are still some people that says, well, you know what, I've been through two heartaches, that's enough for me to last me a lifetime, and I don't ever want to go through that again. And I think what the person is really saying is that they don't trust themselves enough to know that they won't pick a person for them that won't hurt them again. That's what they're ultimately saying, because I feel that as people, if we do the work and we come to a place of understanding and really, really going for what we want and what we know we deserve and what we truly, truly know is meant for us, I don't think that you will put yourself in a position to be hurt to that level again. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be all bells and whistles and unicorns and rainbows, right? Everything you go through in life is going to have obstacles. I don't care what it is, right? Because you got two things coming together to form one. Um, and I don't know, it wasn't you I was talking to. I was talking to someone else, and I was telling them about the. I don't think it was you when I was talking about the fresh water and the seawater. I mean, the salt water and the fresh water. That this is how I look at relationships, and this is me getting deep. You know how sometimes when I get deep, me and my extra activities when I get deep and shit, right? My extracurricular activities, right? So, so this is how I see
I'm
relationships,
gonna leave that alone.
right? So this is how I see relationships, right? You have fresh water and you have salt water, and I can't remember which two bodies of waters it is, but it's two of them that I remember a couple of years ago. someone did a video where you can see where the two meet. There's two bodies of oceans, and I want to say that I know the names, but I'm not even going to jack it up, so I'm going to just leave the names blank. But there's two different bodies of water that meet, and one of them is fresh water, and one of them is salt water. And so because they meet meet together like this, there are two different types of water. So because of it, they don't mix, they stay separated, right? And you can see the clear line of the vision. So when the sun starts to set, you can see where the waters don't mix together. And that's how I see people in relationships, right? Although the two bodies of water, one being salt, one being fresh water, they're still water, which means that they still have the same effect, meaning that they're for swimming, they have animals in it, therefore, the animals that live in there to survive, they you can go fishing in both of them. You can catch certain fish in either one of them. If you drink too much of it, it'll kill you. If you don't know how to swim it, it'll kill you. So it's all got the same. It's the same type of element. It's a water, right? Same thing with people. A man and a woman, they're still human. They're still people, right? But they're two different type of people. Even if you got two women together, two men together, they're still people. They're still two different people, just like those two bodies of water. No matter what you do, they will never become one. They're going to still have their own opinions. And that's the way relationships are. And once you realize that you can still get along because those waters understand each other. I understand that you're fresh water and you have to understand that I'm salt water. And so long as we respect each other like this, you stay on your side, I stay on my side. You do what you do, I do what I do. And when we need to come together, we'll come together, because guess what? When a wave come through, it don't just stop in the salt water line. It goes through both of the waters, right? And both of the waters can tackle the waves. I mean, it just continues on. And so that's just like any forces that come into a relationship, whether it be a debt come in, where you got to both tackle it, or you want to get to the next level and buy something more, or kids are graduating college or graduating high school, or mama need a new handbag, whatever the case may be, somebody trying to penetrate your relationship, whatever, right? You still fight the way together, no matter what. And that's how I see relationships. But for whatever reason, people feel that you should get on one accord. And I made a post like that the other day where I asked the question, and this was because of this concept that I was thinking about. I asked the question about people being twins, right? Or people being born, are twins one people or two people? And of course, everyone said that, twins are two people. I said, well, if you answer two people, then you are correct. I said, if twins are two people, then why do people say when people become married that they're one? I'm like, you become one in terms of the way you make decisions, but you're not one. But there are people that they have this mentality about marriage. And here's the thing, in your household, you do what you do. But what it does is the people who's never been married before, who don't really understand the concept of marriage, who's afraid of marriage, they hear this. I lose my identity because of what everybody is telling them. But when you become married, you become one. See, they think that they don't lose their identity. So it gives a false impression to those people out there who's not understanding really what marriage is, right? And so you think in a marriage that when I get married, she gonna try to make me be her, and she gonna want to be me and all this. I want to be my own person. So then you're fighting against something that you thought that your marriage was supposed to be like, when in actuality, them people told you a lie. You don't become one. You understand what I'm saying? So from the beginning, you go into it with this resistance because you heard all this bad stuff about relationships and marriages and stuff. And so you don't know what the truth is. And so that's why I encourage people that are married, when you're talking to people that's not married, make sure you tell them the real truth and not the half truth. You don't become one. You just become in agreement on certain topics when it comes to your household, but you still got your brain. I still got my brain. If you got diabetes, goddamn, that don't mean I'm gonna have diabetes. You know what I'm saying? So, if something happened to you, if you lose a thumb, that don't mean I'm gonna lose a thumb. You know what I mean? That's just how it works. So, but anyway, that's me on my soapbox. I'm gonna get off of it. But I'll explain, when it comes to what I see people, whether or not people do it because of they're complacent or they don't want to work in a relationship, or they do it because they've been hurt enough times or they've seen so much that they just feel like, wow, will they really be lucky as opposed to everybody else? So I can see it being either way, and I understand either way.
Yes, I mean, yes, you're right. That is a lot to digest, and I want people to really. This is what's so great about the replay, is that this is going to give you the opportunity to write some notes. So if you didn't get a chance to do that, I suggest you definitely come back to the replay and take something, because there's a lot of um, very important things that she covered. And when you talk about the analogy, and because while you're sitting here talking about these bodies of water, I'm sitting here saying, and I noticed right there on the tip of my tongue, and I couldn't recall it, but yes, ladies and gentlemen, in short, there is work to be done on ourselves. And what, if there's anything that I can communicate to you this evening, is I understand not wanting to repeat the hurt or pain. I remember my first heartbreak. And when I tell you that at that time, I would have done anything to keep from ever having to experience that again, Ronnie would have done anything to keep from experiencing that again. And I'll tell you, because this is part of my story in the journey in which I talk about dating. I mean, when I tell you, and you've heard me say this before, if you listen to it on this platform and my other platforms, the money that I invested and spent in books, seminars, tapes. I mean, that this was the woman that was supposed to be my wife, and we were going to build this empire. I mean, it was just what it was, and it all came to a crashing halt. And at that point in my life, and here's the thing: I'm young. I'm still in my 20s, thinking that there's never going to be another woman like her ever again. So I just as well, what's the use? I'll just be single for the rest of my life. Or like a lot of men take this mindset of, that's okay, I'm just going to be an international playboy because it just guards the heart. And so that led me down a path which, lots of fun. But let me tell you, brothers, and for you men that may be contemplating that, if you're in your 20s, 30s, trust me, you're going to end up right back where you are, because you're avoiding doing the work. And here is the gist of this story. Even when I put in the work, which was very, very hard and expensive, you still put yourself back out there. I put myself back out there, met someone else, right back, just knew she was the one. Oh, thank you, Lord. I just thought that, and bam, it happened again. And I'm going, wait a minute, hold on. I did all the studies, I did all the work. And see, here's the thing. You realize, and see, this is when we get into this conversation, is there really a soulmate? Because what happens is that some people get into a position where they felt their soulmate is that one person, and there's never to be another one. And I never really caught on to that whole thing. I get what they're meaning on the surface, but let's just say that person passes because of some illness. Does that mean you're never to remarry? Never to experience love and intimacy again? Because that was your soulmate? Never to be replaced? No, that's not the way it was designed. So I say all of that ladies and gentlemen, I've experienced multiple heartbreaks. But each and every time, and because I worked on myself, A, I never gave up on love, and B, I never stopped believing that that person is out there. Never, it's just never crossed my mind. It's never crossed my mind. But what it does, what I have done, is I've gotten better at vetting and better at saying, okay, it could happen, because the truth is, there is no guarantees. And when you accept that, ladies and gentlemen, trust me, your dating experience will go a lot better because you're in a different mind space. There are no guarantees. Could that woman have, could I have been the perfect person for her? In my mind, absolutely. And no one logically or emotionally could tell me different. But here's the thing. If she doesn't see it, What difference does it make what I think? Am I going to sit here and kill myself trying to convince her? You could, but then you're going to end up disappointed because maybe in her worldview, you're not that person.
Mhm.
And so, with that being the case, you, again, to Yashika's point, there's fish in salt water, fish in fresh water. And once in a while, you'll see one fish may travel the other, but they know that's what they're meant. They are meant to be freshwater fish, going to be with freshwater fish. or, but see, to us, you know, look, you then get into the uh, meeting someone, and as in your late examples, listening to other people and talking about believing now, here's the other part, where they don't want to get married because they believe they're going to lose part of themselves. Or I want to stay single, and this, just, okay. I'm going to say this with a smile. This whole, I'm staying single because I want my peace.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I
Right.
can tell you of many examples of married couples, and they both experience peace. I'm like, so who and where the hell did you hear that you lose peace if you get married? Well, if I think about it, how many times have you heard, fellas, chime in with me? How many times have you heard, oh, well, now you get married, there's that ball and chain, you know? Well, no, there goes your freedom. Forget hanging out with the boys. I've never experienced that, and there are many men who have experienced it, and there are women who never stopped hanging out with their girls. It may not be as often,
Right.
where the truth is, she is still an individual. And again, so if you really take the time to read, research, or maybe in your life, if you run across a couple who stood the test of time, they'll never tell you it was perfect. It was
Yeah.
all roses, like you use examples of unicorns or whatever. There have been those times when the marriage was challenged.
Mhm.
But what they did do, and if you really listen closely, ladies, and if you listen closely, gentlemen, if you listen to them, you will see and hear that she never stopped being who she is.
Mhm.
He respected her individuality. She respected his individuality. And in that space is they come together and they go for the greater good. And they grow. And they make some mistakes. They talk about those mistakes. Sometimes they pout. Sometimes he'll go sleep on the couch. Or sometimes they'll sleep in the bed and put the pillows in between them. And then they realize how stupid it is and they'll have make-up sex. And then it's another day. But they never gave up
Yeah.
on love of each other. So again, listening to other people in this modern culture, the current culture of, you know, love is not worth it.
Yeah.
It's too much work. You're going to disrupt your peace. I'm telling you, gentlemen, and I'm speaking to the men in this space, stop believing that bull. I didn't want to curse, but yeah, stop it. Stop it. Run
No,
away from those type of men.
I really believe that it's a. I believe that it's a generational thing. I really do because the more and more I think about it, most of the people who are in this generation, they're either in marriages or they're in relationships or they're working towards relationships. That's what I believe. Like, no, I think that most of the ones who are okay with, because even when you mentioned about um the guy being not or not being able to hang with his friends, the younger people, I think that, yeah, they're still at the point where they want to turn up, and I know there's some some people that's a little older that like to go to the rhythm and blues night and stuff like that, but for the most part though, when you get to a certain age, listen, I know people and you call them, they be 32, they be like, what you doing in the bed? They be like, I'm in the bed. And they be for real too. You know what I'm saying? Like my son is one of them. My son 26. My stepdaughter, she 31. Them people, they sleep more than I do. Like, and they be in the bed all the time. They got 4 jobs. But when it's time to sleep, they are in the bed. Like they are in the bed. And so I think that, like, for the most part, I don't think that, I think that's like that old school thing where people would say that. But I think nowadays people are not like these new kids, I don't think they really care about that. I think that they realize that you have a choice when you're young. And the choice is to make your money now, because as you get older, whatever you make your money with, as you get older, it may not be there for you. And I think that's what most of them are seeing now. They seeing so many of us work ourselves to the bone, and then only to come up and not have nothing. And when you reach retirement age, you still don't even have much. And I
Hmm.
think that's what a lot of the younger kids that are out here hustling, they're trying to make money now because they don't want to be, 50, 60 years old, still working hard. You know what I mean? And I think
Hmm.
that's what a lot of them are doing. I think that's
Well,
what's
I
happening.
run into those that are married that are still trying to live their life like they're single, and
They missing something. That's all. They missing something. They
yeah,
missing. They missing.
and these are the conversations, because what tends to happen is they're missing out on some growth.
Yeah.
You know, there's some depth, and so when I asked them, I says, ask her, is there anything that you figure that you know I could work on or that I could do to be a better spouse? And then he's thrown back when she has a laundry list of things,
Hmm.
and then he's asking like, well, damn, when do I have time to do all of? I says, well, if you cut down this, you stop doing that. I'm not saying that you have to give it or eliminate it completely, but there's just things that you have to, you're not two people married, turn up 7 days a week. There are things, of course, when we're talking about saving for a home, finishing school, getting out of debt, things of this nature. So I believe that sometimes, at least especially when I talk to the young couples, a lot of that is still having to still live a life as if they're. And I'm like, no, the decisions you make now should involve his input, her input,
Yeah.
because you're both going in the same directions again. And so when I speak about the relationship, you say maybe you own, it's because, you know, there are those things where they don't want to feel as though they're giving up their right to make their own decision. I'm not saying that saying you still can, but be real cognizant. It's not just about you anymore. It
Right.
wasn't about you and your dating. It's about this other person, because everything that you're doing now is affecting her in some way, shape, or form. So yes, lead, but again, respect her enough and the individuality to communicate, not just in words, but through your actions, where you're going, so she's not at a loss. But if she hardly sees you because you're still trying to turn up, then don't be surprised at the doubt that she has when you're pointing in the direction. She's like, I don't know. Can I count on you?
Hmm.
So these are the things that we run across with generations. But I wanted to talk about this other spot as to why some people have given up on love.
Hmm.
And this is that thing that many men and women avoid talking about. Some of them have challenges acknowledging.
Hmm.
Many of them deep down know why. And it's that word that starts with a K. And it's that word is called karma. See, some men and some women know they've done some things to others that they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
They cause a whole wake of heartbreak for men
Yeah.
and women
Yeah.
throughout their
But
dating life. And wait. And then what happens?
yeah.
What happens is now they decide that they had their come to Jesus moment. They realize that, you know what, I'm going to stop doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that works.
And they run into the man or the woman,
Yeah.
and the same thing happens to them.
Yeah. I mean,
And instead of saying, you know what, okay, I get it, this tends to happen, whatever, they give up because they don't know how long this stretch is going to last.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
you could call it
so
karma, but I know people who have walked the straight and narrow in a relationship
oh
and have
well,
had things to hurt, to happen to them like that. So
hmm
I
hmm
can explain that, but at the end of the day, we have a forgiven, we all did this shit. We have a forgiven God, and or we have a forgiven whoever you pray to. And at the end of the day, I'm like, we all and fell short. Ain't nobody's perfect. People told me to wait until I was married to have babies. I did exactly that. But as soon as I had my babies, 2, 3 years later, I was filing for divorce. What they say do that is. So it wasn't really right.
well,
So
Well,
was it really right? So I did it the right way. But I mean, what good was it that I filed for divorce right after the babies was born? Like that didn't make no sense. So I mean,
well, that's I can give you. There's still advantages to that. But look, I believe there are many reasons why, and I believe that if there's anything that I know you as well, Yashika, but I'm going to speak for me. What I want men and women who are in this space, they're close to this space. I want them to know that, and you always say this, there's somebody for everybody.
Mhm.
And I believe that as well. I always truly believe that. And so I know there are many times you've gone on that fifth date, and here, and to the men I know, you spend money. You know, it's not just the woman getting ready and getting herself together. It's us getting ready. We're washing the car, vacuuming the insides for probably the first time and whatever. We're getting the fresh haircut. We're getting the clothes out. So these are the things that you do. And then, it's $150 or it's $200 or it's whatever the amount, and it adds up over time. And regardless of how much you make, it's still money, and you feel as though, because as men we think of return on investment, we're looking to invest in, that you're just saying that, okay, damn, she looks great, great conversation. However, you find that there's just some idiosyncrasies that you don't want to deal with, or she doesn't want to deal with, and you go your separate ways. And then you wonder, is she out there? Or Ronnie, you know what? I'll just, I'm good. I'm going to travel. I'm going to see the world. The money I'm spending on all of this, I can do that. And brothers, I just don't believe. Listen, I believe in God, and I just don't want you to get to that space where you're just in this endless thing of, women all over the place, and, or just you've gone into monk mode. You just want to deal with nothing. Just stay the course. And
Well,
again, more than anything,
maybe that may take away from what you just said. Let me just say this, because I'm gonna say it for the single women out there. Can we just get some fellas to make it past the first date? I'm just gonna say that. Cheers to that.
but here's the thing. Yes, but it's not always up to us. Remember, she has to want the second date as well. We could want the second date. Fellas, chime in. There's times when you want a second date, and the first thing she says, I don't.
It's been a long time since I asked for a second date. You hear me? It's been a long time.
Listen,
I done had a whole bunch of first.
Listen, I tell men the start in there strong, but here's one thing: just know that nothing is guaranteed, because women will give you.
I'll be like, was I talking to you or what? Oh, my bad, that wasn't you. I was.
Don't get me started. There's some brothers out there doing the good work, and these sisters are out here passing up.
Because it's so many. I mean, what I'm saying is just that okay.
Yeah, and here we are. This is why when women and men come around, just date them all. I'm like, okay, good luck with that method.
It's not date them all. It's not date them all. And this is not why we giving up on love. And let me why.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I am a dater. Remember, I am a dating coach. I help, or should I say, I empower successful women to date through self-discovery. Okay. So what that means is this: for me to, I can't tell women to date one man and you date him for a month, and in that month you go out with him, let's just say 4 times, 1 weekend a month, 4 times, right? By week 5, let's just say you have sex with him on week 5. Let's just say date 5, week 5. Let's just say you dated a month and you had sex with him on day 42. Okay, let's just say day 42, week 5 or whatever, right? Well, no, day 5, but it happened to be day 42 that you've known him. All right, let's just do it like that. Then he bounced. You say, okay, then I don't know if he was the one for me because I put all my eggs in that basket. So now I got to go back to the drawing board. So you wait 2 months, you go back out to the drawing board. The cycle repeats itself. That means that you would have done that 4 times in 1 year. 4 times. That means you've been to have ran through 4 dudes in 1 year. However, if I'm dating 2 men at one time, right? Guess what's going to happen? Because I'm dating them both at both times, that means that after a while, guess what? You got to go longer than 42 days now. Or 42 days. Because I'm dating now. So now it's 8 weeks, which because I'm carrying y'all. And if one of y'all should happen to make it past the 8 weeks and the other one drop off, because guess what? You done made it past the 8 week time. So I'm still going strong with this. So you done dropped off. So now I'm doing less. I'm actually using my time more wisely, dating more than one at a time. But if I keep only dating one and I'm hoping y'all being a one because I'm putting all my energy into you and you don't show me who you really are into date 3 or 4, or I can show you who I really am on date 3 or 4, one of the two, but it doesn't work out. But as a woman, I have to preserve my energy. I have to preserve myself. I have to preserve my body. And the way that I do that is not to put all my eggs in one basket because I don't have time on my side like you do. Because no matter what's going on in your life as a man, you still got time on your side. I don't. Right? And that's the difference. Because at 80 years old, you can still go get your 20-something-year-old. I'll be the talk of the town at 80 years old. I got me at 65 years old. All my girlfriends would be jealous of me. You hear me? They'd be like, girl, you got your own young man. I'd be like, show do. You know what I'm saying? But when you 80 years old, you can still pull you a doggone 20-something-year-old and won't nobody blink an eye. They'd be like, she really love him. She love him. She really love him. She love him. She ain't with him for his money. Nope, not at all. And you know I'm telling the truth.
Gentlemen, Yasheka and I are having master classes on all of this. And what we're going to let you do is let you decide who has the better process. Now, again, if there's one thing I do know, and to understand, I do understand the double standard. That's it's not fair. So I get that. I do get that. I'm just of a space that the better you know yourself, the quicker you can vet through the people so you don't have to do 2, 3. You can find out everything you need on the first date if you know what you're doing. And how do you know what you're doing? You book a consultation with Yasheka or I and put you in a better position.
Yep,
I find far too many men and women are still doing trial and error. They still believe that because she looks good for her age and she's got all these men in her inbox, and I don't care, ladies, listen, we all know the moms and the grandmas are on point. Hell, TikTok, Instagram, it shows. And yet, the box is full of married men, or it's dry, or men are just killing it on the dating profiles or whatever.
Let me jump in, right? I wanted to say something about when I was just talking about the dating, and that's exactly what I mean to your point about the dating 2 men, and that's what women need to understand when I say that. It's not me going out on dates with someone. I'm talking about before we even get to the dating part. In other words, if I'm conversing, or even if I had date 1 with each guy, right? They're still at the same level. Like they're at the same level. In other words, I haven't went on 2 or 3 dates with either one of them. They're still at the same level. But I'm not going to cut one off because I'm talking on the phone more to this one because I may have wasted time. That's just not the way it works. But if they're at the same level, they both get the same amount of time. I've only been out on 1 date with both of them. Now, if I should happen to be more closer with this one more so than the other one, and that one moves a little bit faster, whatever the case may be, then so be it. Then I'll move with that one. But at the end of the day, once you converse on the phone is not the same as dating 2 people. That's literally talking on the phone to get to know people. And that's what I mean when I say talking to 2 people. I don't call it dating because ain't nobody asked me to be their woman. Period.
Listen, and that's the beauty of the conversations and the mindsets, the paradigm shifts of men and women over the years. It's interesting. And this is why I don't call myself an expert per se, because I
Right.
never want to give the impression that I am the end all be all to dating mastery. But what I am very good at is making sure that I can compress some time frames for you.
Hmm.
So, gentlemen, you're not spending 1,000. Because let me tell you something, ladies, and whether you care or not, dating from a man's space is expensive. I don't care how much you make.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these women are talking about all these broke dusties and all this new terminology, and I'm like, look, it doesn't mean they're broke. It just means that they don't see a reason to invest in the time with you sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, are there some who don't have? Yes, but look, I mean, the truth is there's some eligible men out there. The numbers show that. You can read the studies. There's some eligible young brothers without children, baby mamas out there
Wow.
that are ready to date. So
There are.
I don't know who's telling these women that there's, again, and this is where when Yashika and I talk about that there's somebody from out there.
And
I
I've
said,
had a lot of guys just and not guys that I'm interested in, but just through conversation because I like to meet people. I like to know what people are doing. And I am shocked of the amount of guys that I meet in the civilian sector that are without children. Like it is
54% of black men. Yeah.
I guess because in the military, most of the people that's in the military at some point were married. And so with being married came children. And so most of the men that I met in the military, most of them had kids, whether we worked together or whatever, right? So I just assumed that the military reflected the people on the outside. But literally, a lot of men, I would say from 40 to 50 that I've met since I've been a civilian, they either have no kids or one kid. And I was like, I mean, that is the difference between service members and civilians. I can honestly say that. That's
No,
crazy.
there are many, and it's so funny because I also posted Facebook about an article that I read, and since then there's been another article, and I caution, especially black women in particular, that there still is a huge movement, and I've said this for years, to keep black women single because they're the strategic singlehood. I'm telling you, it's BS. They really have you women thinking that there's some greater honor in being single as to being married. And I'm telling you, ladies, they're setting you up for the okie doke. It's that old cliche, the banana in the tailpipe that I use. So there are men out there. There are single, childless men out there that make money. But to hear them tell it, every black woman is making ton loads of money over, and it's like, well, okay, unless you can show me the numbers, I don't see it. I see it on average. Black men are making at least $10,000 more per year than black women. Then you see the memes where women are out here saying, I don't need a man," and then you see them out there trying to shovel snow by themselves or change a tire. It. Look,
I think the message is get
it really is, and I'm saying the media is really doing a number. The
message
media is right.
the
The
whole.
media is really doing a number on women right now. I really see this, and they're this whole toxic masculinity. I mean, just being a man. And I'm like, well, what is toxic about? So it's all of this, and so all of this is lending into the mindset because they know that if they tell you long enough, you'll start to believe that love is just a lost cause now. And this is when we get to we talked about earlier, Yashika, about the younger generation. Because you've got these young men out here, and I get it. Some all they see and they look at the divorce rates. Then they say go to church. Well, hell, look at the divorce rates of the people in church. For the people who said they swore up and down that this is my Boaz and the Lord sent me this man, and then 2 years later they're divorced. So this younger generation is seeing this, and so for those of you who are younger, who are looking at Yashika and we want you to know, if anything, that you are not to give up on that no matter what anyone is telling you. There's some great men and there's some great women out there. I mean, sharp young sisters that I talk to it just amazes me, the conversations, and somewhere in the conversation, now if I can just find the man that I can build, I'm like, wait a minute, you're single? Where the hell is going on here? And A lot of them sometimes they kind of want one, but then they're afraid of one because they've been told this, or they have examples, as you stated earlier, because of their parents or because of their girlfriends or guy friends, and they know deep down a relationship is something they want. But
Mhm.
after a couple of dates, they just give up, and I'm always saying, no, you don't ever give up. I don't care what. And I said, so whether you want to investing in a coaching with me or Yashika or not, do not, ladies and gentlemen, I repeat this, do not give up on love.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what a lot of people. I think it's just easier sometimes. It's just easier.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. For many, it is easy just yeah.
Yeah. And you said something earlier about receiving it. I have an acronym that I have out right now that I just completed a challenge on, or did the videos for a challenge. And part of the acronym, I use the word openness. And that's something that I talked about, was being open to the possibility of someone, meeting you. Because if you're closed off, or you have this safety shield around you where you're like, you know what, I need to protect my feelings, I need to protect my heart, I need to protect my being, I need to protect my inner peace and all this, you know what I mean, to make sure that this never happens, put it up like this, like Wonder Woman and stuff, right? Or Superman or whoever, then you can't be open to receive anything that anybody gives you either. You know what I mean? Because you're always afraid to give you a little bit more, because every time something happens, you're ready to attack because you're always on the defense, right? You're always
There you
playing
go.
the position of defense. And so because it's like walking on eggshells, and as soon as somebody jump out just a little bit, you're jumping because you're walking. It's like you're tippy toeing, because you know that any minute the house of cards is going to fall. You know what I mean? And so when you are not in the receiving mode, no matter what type of person that comes in your life, you will not be able to receive them in their entirety. And that's why I talk about being open. You have to be open to receive. And I think that when people are unhealed and they really don't have that space to receive anything, no matter what we say, no matter what videos they listen to, no matter who comes in their lives, they will take the route of saying, I'm just convinced that I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. That's easier than doing the work, because sometimes doing the work means you got to dig through some tough stuff. You got to dig through some you don't want
That's
to
right.
dig through, you know what I mean? And I'm telling you, them doggone, listen, all that stuff down up in there, that stuff is real. That stuff is real. Let me tell you, it's like tar. You know what I mean? It's tar. And sometimes we don't want to get, because it's all sticky and icky. No matter what we do, we can't get it off. So you're trying to get it off, and you can't get it off. And sometimes we don't want to go through that, but we have to get through it. We have to get through it in order for us to understand that, because when we're still stuck right there, we can't receive anything good in life. That's just not a person. That's then cues our next level as well, that our next fortune, our next ability to get to the next level. Like, there's so many other things, because that's what happens when you see a lot of people that get to the top and still fall because of something, because they had all that unhealedness going on that they never mended from or never healed from. And that's why when they get to a certain level, they have all this money, all this fame, all this power, but then they ended up self-sabotaging. They end up getting on drugs, or they commit suicide. They do all these things, right? Because they still had too much hurt and pain. And that's the same way it is. See, they figured out how to be successful in this way, but they didn't know how to deal with this other stuff. And this is how it is on the people who ain't made the level yet to be to the next level, right? Some of us normal folk, we got to deal. We ain't made it to that next level yet. So we got to figure out what's keeping us from making it to that next level, because we all have the capabilities to do it, whether it be in relationships and our wealth, our health, all that stuff. So we gotta understand what's keeping us from that level. So it has to be our limited thinking. And our limited thinking comes from the things that we have within ourselves that we think that we're healed from, and we're not. And we have to get healed from in order to go to the next level. And that's just the way it is, because you will think that you're ready to move on, and you're not. And you'll try to figure out, well, why am I still here? And I've done all these things, I've done all this, but I'm still here. What is going on? That's because you have not really, really done the work. You think you have because you've checked some blocks on some things, but you haven't truly, truly done the work. Because if you've done the work, Trust me, you'll know you've done the work. You'll know you've done the work.
You've touched on two very powerful things, and I, I can't say. Well, one is yes, when you work so much and you're closing off so much, you block the opportunity to meet someone. And ladies, but matter of fact, me and you were talking about this, Yashika, where we remember the '90s and the songs
Mm-hmm.
when you had the men out here singing, how much they'll work and put in the time, whatever it takes. I get it. You've been hurt, ladies. Let me prove it to you, and just give me a chance. And you had all of these songs and four-part harmonies. I mean, it was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
These young brothers today are not with that. They're just not going to put in the work. They'll jump on a plane and go to another country.
Right.
That's just where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's painful because they don't want to. They really believe that this woman is it. But there's only but so much he's going to take, and far too many women put up these walls, consciously or unconsciously, and he's got to jump through all of these hoops, and then once he's jumped through the hoops, then you have another set of hoops, except this has fire. And then now he's got to jump through the hoops with fire, and then once he does this, then he has to jump through the hoops with no fire to the hoops with fire. Then he's got to swim 2 miles. Then he's got. So, ladies, really, really, if you're gonna do the work, make sure you're doing the work, but prepare yourself to be available for that man when he shows up. Two, you've spoken about how we've been conditioned. And I'll speak to women especially about this, this whole getting the bag culture. I listen, make no mistake about it. I'm all about making sure you get your paper, male and female. And more so, I'm very, very firm and direct with the men of getting that bag. And not for the sake of buying cars and jewelry and things of this nature, just to flex on the gram. I'm talking up, getting that money up so that you can be the best provider that you can be for that woman that you want in their life, to create those memories. Because let me tell you something, ladies, you can buy, and here's the thing, I've coached these women, the high earning men and women. They have the money, they have the bags, they have the shoes, tailor made. Forget the designer. They're getting this stuff custom. But you know what? Speak to them long enough with a nice bottle of champagne or a bottle of wine. I mean, I remember having a conversation. It wasn't a client. We're sitting here drinking tequila. And this tequila was $10,000 a shot. And sitting down with this man who had no problem. Now, when I calculated, and he had this whole reserve. This thing was ridiculous. And I know for a fact it was $10,000 a shot. And so, after a couple of those, nice house, nice car, more than anything, he said, Ronnie, I'll give all of this up for a woman that I could trust, a woman I could make love to and create future memories with. Mm. And here's the thing. There are a lot of men like that. There are women who have made bad choices because they realize that they've made the money, they have achievement, but what they didn't have was fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And so they want a man they can come home to, who they can cook for, a man who may have a dinner for them, a man that says, they're looking dinner for one. And I'm talking these apartments these women have are off the chain. The houses. So they have it all. It looks great. But they come home and having takeout. They would love to cook a meal or fix a plate for a man. They would love to get a phone call. They listen, this weekend we're going to go do this. We were built for relationships.
Yeah.
And so and again, make your money, but don't make money your God. As they say, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. It doesn't say money. The love of money is the root of all evil. So you can still have some form of happiness with your money, but make sure that, again, the happiest couples that are wealthy are people who create memories with that money. They still buy each other nice stuff, but again, relationships.
Yeah.
And these are the men and women who, sometimes they've just given up. And so, broke or poor, you're built for a relationship. And I believe that they're out there.
Absolutely. I think so for everybody too, but you can't change people and their mindset. All we can do is keep delivering our message, our gift that we have for the world. All right, Ronnie. I was thinking that we definitely need to do a show about the whole being open, because I think that's the topic in itself. Although this probably needs a part two to have you given up on love, because I think we can probably go on this for a while.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, absolutely. But this has been nice though, and I missed you on air. It's been a couple of weeks, and I'm
Uh,
like, how long? It seems like it's been longer. I
It
don't know.
has been. It has been.
Yeah, it was just week before last. So anyway, do you have any parting words before we end this stream?
I would like each and every one of you to go to datingdiscussions.com on YouTube, listen, subscribe. Also, you see the Cash Apps down there. Take some time to support the channel. We want to keep this as commercial free as possible. I also ask that you reach out and go to Instagram. You'll see Ronnie and Yasheka. Also, put in some comments. And we know you have some thoughts. You'll see us on Facebook as well. Book a consultation with Yasheka and I, or both of us. But we have some great things coming up in 2022. That's really, no matter what you feel your method is dating, I can assure you, Yasheka and I will cover them. So we want you to re-engage in this space of love and dating and relationships. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to say. So again, my name is Ronnie Walker, master coach of exceptional dating, relationships, and sex. And I thank you, my lovely and also stunning co-host, Yasheka Foster. And thank you for tuning in. So those are my last parting words, Yasheka.
Have a good night.
Good night.